Hi everybody, it's Sarah Cray with Let's Make Art, and I teach watercolor, and today we are doing our Let's Make Art Matter postcard for Rebecca. Now Rebecca is the director of nursing in a long-term care facility, and she is a llama, so she paints with us, which is amazing. Thank you, Rebecca, so much. And I thought it would be so great if we can share some love and support for her, because it's probably been really stressful and we could all use a little extra support every now and then. So what we are painting today is a dogwood rose. Here, can you see that okay?
Yeah.
So we carry this book on our website, Watercolor with Me in the Forest by Dana Fox, and I hope I said that name right. And I just thought, like, there are so many fun projects in here, and there's, I don't know, I just thought it would be fun if we did this together, and I'm gonna learn with you in real time how to do this, okay? So I haven't painted this before, but I'm gonna use this handy dandy book, and we're gonna try it, okay? And also I wanna say that Rebecca is part of our Facebook group, Let's Make Art Watercolor, and she says that she's already been receiving postcards and been hanging them up on the windows, and just wanted to say thank you. So first of all, for people who already painted something for her, thank you so much. Second of all, Rebecca, thank you for sharing. I absolutely love seeing that, and I hope that they're helping you feel a little bit of love. So, okay, let's do this. All right, you guys ready? I'm a little bit nervous, but it's gonna be okay. So the colors that we will be using, now in this book, there are some colors listed, but I want us to use the colors that we already have, because, you know, might as well. So we will be using all of our colors from the May watercolor box, and those are magenta, emerald green, oh, there's some yellow oak in there, so got some yellow, but that's okay, yellow ochre, sepia, I'm saying that right? And space blue.
I know we looked up if it was sepia or sepia. I don't remember.
It's sepia. I want it to be sepia, but it's not.
Okay.
It's not. Okay. So those are not the exact colors that are listed here, but I want to show you that that's okay, and that shouldn't stop you from moving forward. So the nice thing, if you were to look at this, is we already have yellow ochre. I think it's slightly different, but that's fine. They have a Hooker's dark green, and so we're going to do a mixture of emerald green and space blue, and maybe a little bit of sepia for that dark green. Rose will use a little bit of our magenta and yellow ochre to make like kind of a peachy color, and for the mauve color, is it mauve or mauve?
You are asking the wrong.
Sorry, I don't know.
I'll look it up.
Okay, you can use a little bit of magenta with a tiny, tiny bit of space blue. That's what's gonna give you a little bit of that purple. So we're making substitutions here, okay? And also I wanna say that, like, you guys can do whatever you want. You can totally ignore everything I said. You can change up the colors. You are the artist here.
Wait, are you ready?
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta turn it up. Here we go.
Mauve.
Mauve.
Did you hear it? I'll do it one more.
One more time.
Mauve.
Mauve. Okay, got it. Okay, so there is no outline with this project, but in this watercolor book, the outline is, you can paint directly in this if you want, but we're gonna do this on a postcard, so I'm just going to try and draw this. Okay, you guys ready? Can you see this?
Yes.
Can you see the postcard?
Yeah.
Should I move it up more?
Right there's perfect.
Okay. So, I'm gonna start with a circle in the, if I were to like crop my postcard in, and this is it, that ratio feels good. So in the middle, I'm gonna do a circle for the center of the flower, okay? And then I'm gonna kind of do like a heart-shaped petal on the top, okay? And we'll do another heart-shaped petal down here. And I want you to notice, this is not a perfect heart, and we don't want it to be a perfect heart. We want it to feel a little bit funky, a little bit flowy. And then we'll do like a little petal in here that connects between the two. And we got a petal poking out here that's also another little heart-shaped going on. And then this one connects like this, but then you can see right here, this petal kind of flips up. So you just got to draw that in like that. there it is.
You make it look so effortless.
I just want to say, I think that with drawing and sketching, like our brain like kind of stresses if it doesn't look exact or not what we're thinking. But most of the time, I feel like with drawing and even with painting, a lot of it is just moving forward anyway. That's it. Like just keep on going, because this right now doesn't look how it's supposed to, but it's not supposed, it's not painted yet. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So like just keep going. Okay, and then our leaves. Now, it looks like we have a stem coming up this way and kind of through. Stem coming up over here and to the right. Now in this one, it's coming out in between these two petals. You see that? Yep. But on mine, that would hit too high. So I'm gonna actually just have it come out in the middle of this petal. Adjusting, okay? And now, looks like teardrop shapes for the leaves. Okay. More teardrop shapes. And remember, we're using pencil, you guys. You can totally erase if you want to like start again or adjust. Okay. So mine's slightly different than what's on here, but I feel good enough that I can move on. Yeah?
It's beautiful.
Okay. Now we get to the painting part. Oh, I got paint on that. Well, that's okay. All right. I'm going to use a round 6 and a round 2. I got a paper towel.
That's out of character for you. A round 6 and a round 2.
Have you heard of those brushes? Just kidding. I use those brushes like every tutorial. All right, so our very first step is she starts with the leaves and she mixes yellow ochre and the dark green to get the leaves, and then she kind of does the spikes while it's still wet. So I'm going to take emerald green, space blue, and that looks like Hooker's dark green, actually. That looks pretty darn close. But these are dye-based paints, which means that they're a little bit more vibrant, which personally I'm a huge fan of. But if you don't like that, you can always tone it down using complementary colors or using like browns. So like here's a green, and I'm gonna take a little bit of sepia and mix that in just to desaturate the green a little bit. You can also use magenta. Magenta will also work because that is the counterpart to green, or the complement. Okay, so now I have this gorgeous green color here, and I'm going to paint in my leaves using my 6. And then it looks like, it says when it's still wet, drag out pointed strokes using a detail brush around the edges. So I'm going to be using my round 2, and I'm going to be dragging out the paint to get a serrated edge. All right. Okay. And just do that on all. I'm going to do it like chunk by chunk instead of doing all of the leaves, because I'm afraid my paint will dry if I try and do them like all. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Okay. And then while I have my 2, I'm just going to do the stem. Thin line, vertical hold, light pressure. Okay. Ooh, well, looks pretty good. All right, let's keep on going. Got some green. Paint my leaves. Green, I love green. I love being able to have green. I feel like green is one of those colors where it's just like, if you have a little bit too much blue, it's a gorgeous green. If you have a little bit too much yellow, it's a gorgeous green. You know what I mean? Like, I love just being able to play with
green mixtures.
Different hues of green. I'm doing my pokey outies. I notice that I'm picking up paint actually with my 2, and that is not what she says to do, so let me try it with just water. Okay, that works too. The nice thing about using just water to drag the color out is it does give you some different values, which I think is nice. I'm a fan of values. Values is the lightness and darkness of a color. And then while I got my 2, might as well do this stem. Okay. And we're on our last chunk of leaves. Now it looks like mine overlap more where her example doesn't. That's fine, I'm gonna go with it. Now I'm gonna do my serrated edge. And my stem. Okay, well, look at that. I feel pretty darn good. Okay. And then wait a few minutes for the leaves to dry and mix some green and add vein lines. Well, I'm gonna move on to the flower part and work on the flower while the leaves are drying, you know, might as well. So, we're gonna use a tiny, tiny bit of magenta. And magenta is a super, super vibrant pink. I mean, it's gorgeous. It's just like it's an aggressive pink, which is not bad. But this Dogwood Rose is a really soft blush color, so we need to tone down how vibrant that magenta is. So I'm gonna grab some yellow ochre. And then I'm actually gonna grab a lot of water. You can see how that's lightening that up. And now I have this like really pretty blush color. Like, you know, that's not too shabby. I might even grab a tiny bit more yellow ochre. Like that.
I'm always impressed by that you just can just mix them like that.
A lot of it is just playing too, and sometimes just having a scratch paper and being like, okay, I will say that like this area here has a little bit more purple, and I think that's where the mauve comes in. So I'm gonna grab the magenta, a tiny, tiny bit of space blue, just the littlest bit. Ooh, look at that. Look at how pretty that color is.
It's beautiful.
Okay, I really like this one and this one. I feel like this got a little bit too peachy. So if that, and I added that to my mixture, so no big deal. I'm just gonna add more of the magenta to pink it up. There we go, and I got my color. Okay, so using that, fill one petal at the time with the color, allowing each one to dry before moving on to the next. So I'm gonna start at the top and put in this really pretty blush color. And then I'm just gonna go across from it. And so she's saying let each petal dry before moving on to the next one. The benefit of that is that these different, you're gonna get slightly different values and colors with each petal. And by letting each one dry before moving on to the next one is they won't mix together. And it would be easier to see the separation of petals by kind of layering them that way. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But sometimes I just sit here and I'm like watching, you know.
Watching paint dry.
Yeah, literally watch. Sometimes I'm like,
Come on, little fella.
come on, guy, dry for me. Okay. And so along with that thought, make sure that you're letting your petals be different values. You know what I mean? Like purposely look at it and be like these two are pretty much exactly the same because I did them like using the same thing. This one I purposely added a little bit more water because I wanted that value to be slightly different. And then maybe on one of them you add a tiny bit more of the mauve or a little bit more of the ochre to get a slightly different hue. Okay. Okay, so we got our first layer down. Then what we're going to do, we're going to add shadows to the petals. So we're going to want to mix a slightly darker value. That just means less water and more paint. So if you got to grab more paint, go for it. We're going to go around the petal edge. So let's do this. So this is still a little bit damp. I like that. I feel like it adds. Now this one is dry. You see how when that one is damp, it just bled out? Mm-hmm. And this one is still dry, so it's staying in place. I like when they kind of like bleed out a little bit. So I'm just gonna use some water and help it. And be like, come on little guy. You can see now we're getting some different shadows, some different values going on. And values is how we create form. So while it's still damp, I'm kind of just doing another run of this darker value. Ooh, that's looking nice. And then this one, I want to show that this petal is flipping up over. So I got to do a darker value around it to show that it's coming up over. I got to put space there. Kind of blend that out. Probably would be easier to do with this with my 2 since this is so tiny.
Tiny 2.
Just a little guy. And I like how in this one there is there's more color as it gets closer to the center. Do you see that? And I like how there's like some dry brush technique a little bit where you can see some of those lines. So when this is dry, some of my petals are dry, I'm going to go in using my dry brush and just kind of do some rough lines. Rough thin lines here to get some of that petal feel. But you want to make sure it's a slightly darker value than the wash that you already have going on, or else you won't see it. Ooh, that's feeling real nice. You see that?
Mm-hmm. Great textures all over.
Yeah. I'm going to darken just the middle a little bit. It's so funny because I'm trying so hard to follow her directions, which are doing great. It's just funny how like as you start to like get more comfortable painting more and more, that you're just like, but I want this and I want this.
It's so funny.
What?
I'm watching you. I've watched you paint a million flowers.
Uh-huh.
And I was just thinking how funny it is that like I could totally tell a difference in style.
Yes.
You know, like that's not a Sarah Cray styled flower, and it's amazing that techniques attribute to that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
How you approach a petal is different.
And I also want to say that if you're starting to notice that about yourself, where you are having tendencies of things that you want to do, that's you developing your own style, and listen to it and allow yourself to do it. I'm not doing that right now because I'm trying to follow her directions for the case of learning, but like, it's not a bad thing. It's showing you that you have preferences and you have certain things that you like to do. And that's how you kind of like grow as an artist. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Okay. So we're gonna let that dry before we do the center, and I'm gonna go back to step 2 because I ignored that and moved on to the petals to let the leaves dry. Or step 3, sorry, we're going to do a darker green and add vein lines to the leaves. So I'm just gonna make sure I'm mixing a darker value than what my leaves currently are. So I'm gonna do space blue, emerald, a little bit of sepia, just making sure it's a dark value. I'm using my 2. And I'm just going to go along my leaves here and do veins. Boop, 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 boop,
What do you think is inside of leaf veins, Sarah?
What is inside of leaf veins?
Uh-huh.
I don't know. What?
There's water, sugars, micronutrients.
Oh.
Plant blood.
Plant blood. Okay.
Beautiful.
Okay, and now I'm going to do the centers using yellow ochre. So I'm going to paint that with my yellow ochre, and then I'm going to do dots around it. My flower's still a little bit wet, so it's bleeding, but wait for yours to dry if you want these to stay sharp. Okay, we're back. I had to let that dry, you guys, because I got greedy. I put the yellow in when the pink wasn't dry enough and it bled everywhere, so then I had to lift it out and wait for that to dry. I'm sorry. You know, it's my fault. It really is.
It's a mess.
I'm sorry I led you astray. It was too wet. I'm sorry. So I lifted out the yellow, let it dry, put a little pink back in because I lifted that out on accident. And hopefully this is dry enough now that I can actually put in yellow ochre and it doesn't bleed everywhere. Let's test it. Okay, I'm putting it in the center. Okay, I still don't think it's ready to do a round. Let's test one. Nope, still bleeding. Gotta wait. If you have a heat gun, great time to use it.
Think you can microwave paintings?
No, don't do that. No.
One of you adventurous people out there.
No, I have no idea what that would do. I don't want to be responsible for someone getting hurt, things blowing up. You know?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, now I feel, I mean, it's spreading a tiny bit, but not like super bad. So I think it's good. Okay, now I'm gonna let that dry because these thin lines, it's okay for like the the round things at the top to spread a little bit because those stay round, but the stems, we want to make sure we keep those nice and sharp. So I'm really going to make sure that this is dry. But I'm super excited to tell you guys something while we're waiting, which is I know that when we do these postcards for Let's Make Art Matter, the question always comes up like, are these safe in the mail? Are they protected? And we now carry this new product that will help that actually a ton, and I've tested it and it's been great. So we have this Dorland's wax, and so if you just take this when your painting is done and dry, I use a paper towel to put it on. You want to make sure your painting is dry, so I'm just going to do it on the corner here. But if you rub this over it, first of all, it doesn't smear the color, which honestly, when someone first told me about this, I'm like, yeah, okay, that sounds really nice, but this is gonna make the watercolor smear all over, and it didn't. And I was like, what? So it's so cool. So then you just do a layer of this wax across it, and it protects it from water. I even tested it where I took the wax and I put tape along the middle of a painting, and I did wax on the right hand side and nothing on the left hand side, and then I let it dry, and I sprinkled water on top of each sides, and the water just wiped off with lifting up, no color on the wax hand side, where
wax hand side. I like that you tried to that slip.
The waxed side, the waxed right hand side.
Right or left-handed? I'm wax-handed.
And then on the left-hand side where I didn't have anything, obviously the water lifted up the paints because it's watercolor, they're water soluble. So anyways, when I saw that, I'm like, this is perfect for our Let's Make Art Matter postcards. So you just take paper towel, grab some, rub it across. I'm not gonna do it across my flower because it's still wet, but, and then you just let it dry. And then it should be safe in the mail, which is like really great. And I haven't noticed, and I've tested this, I've even like laid it out in the sun, I haven't noticed it affecting the color when you put the wax over it. It doesn't affect the color. The only thing it does affect is just like if you put it at an angle where the light is hitting it, you can tell where there's wax and where there isn't. It leaves a different sheen, but that's it. And when you actually look at a painting straight on and not looking at how the light is hitting it, there's no difference. You can't tell that the wax is on there.
That's awesome.
I actually even read a comment, I think someone commented, because we were talking about this for Art Journal, and someone commented saying that it actually can make the paints look more vibrant. I haven't tested that, but I was just like, that's great, because what I've been afraid of using a sealant is that it might desaturate the paints.
Dull them.
But this person was saying that it makes them more vibrant, which like that's so great. But yeah, so I'm like, this is so perfect. I was so excited to tell you guys because I know we get that question all the time, and this way it keeps your postcards safe in the mail. So during rainy season like it is right now in Missouri, you'll be okay. All right, I'm gonna finish off my stems. Just thin lines. And if you need to mix a little bit of sepia in there to get it a darker color so it shows up, go for it. Well, that's pretty. That turned out great.
It's beautiful.
All right. You guys, I'm so excited about this. I hope this was fun for you. I just kind of want to show you that there's other things that we carry within Let's Make Art that can help you do these kind of smaller little projects, and they're perfect for Let's Make Art Matter. And if you guys aren't familiar with what Let's Make Art Matter is, what we do is all of our subscription boxes come with a pre-addressed and pre-stamped postcard and a little write-up about the recipient. And our hope is that the people that participate with us in our monthly subscriptions take the time to paint something, anything. It doesn't have to be this, it could be whatever you want, and send it to this person. And I believe it does two things. It shows that there is power in community, and it shows that there's power in art, because sometimes We don't know if we're saying the right things, or we want to show someone that we care about them, or we're thinking about them, or we support them, but we're afraid that we're not saying it perfectly, and so we end up not saying anything at all. But art has this power that we don't have to write the perfect thing. Even taking the time to paint something and send it off, that shows this person that we're thinking about them. And that is what makes them feel good. It's not about the perfect note or an amazing painting. And I don't think it's going to solve all the problems. That's not the point of it. The point of it is to let someone know that you're thinking about them. That's all it is. And that's what we hope to do with Let's Make Art Matter. So, Rebecca, thank you so much for all of your hard work. I know it has been so stressful, especially during COVID, but I hope these postcards bring you comfort. If you guys paint these with us and take the time to do this, you're amazing. And I appreciate you doing it. It's the most important thing we do here at Let's Make Art, really. So, if you don't do anything, at least do this. And grab your kids and grab your family and grab your friends and do this for someone else. Let's come together and let's show support and love. And if there is someone that you would like to nominate for this, you can go to our website, letsmakeart.com, scroll down to the bottom, click nominate. So you can do that. And then lastly, if you're not a subscriber and you still want to participate in this activity, you can. Just email our customer happiness team, hello@letsmakeart.com. They'll share with you the information so you can paint your own postcard and send it in the mail if you did not get a subscription box. So that's it. I think that's all I got to say. You guys are great. Thank you for doing this with me. Dana Fox, thank you for writing this book so we can have this gorgeous project to paint something for Rebecca. And thank you all for painting with me. I had a great time. We'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.